We have here something very essential this time of year. We have here something that every student has to have. A backpack. Now you just can't go to school if you don't have a backpack. You know, it's just not going to work. And you may be happy to know this is the latest style. So when you come here, you get all the latest fashions. And I'm told, at least I'm told anyway, that this is the style, and it kind of fits right on your back. And the idea is that it's better for you in some way, better on your back, your posture, whatever it is. I also noticed that this new style isn't too much for holding books, you know, but I'm sure it's great for holding a lot of other things. Nice big lunch, maybe, huh? Video games, you know, all the electronic stuff that you can play with while the teacher's doing the teacher's thing. So much for new styles for our young people. Well, backpack or not, this Labor Day weekend, we certainly remember our young people, and as they return to school, it's certainly our wish that everyone gets along with each other. I'm sure the teachers hope that, the school bus drivers hope so, and I think most of the kids themselves, so that school can at least be a peaceful place. And that's certainly our prayer for them. In our gospel today, Jesus is talking to the apostles quite simply about getting along with each other. How do you get along with each other? He must have known that the early Christians, just like us, would have at times have trouble getting along with each other. And what do you do? And in this particular case, what if in the early Christian church someone does something very wrong? How does the community react? Well, quite simply says, if your brother or sister sins against you, go and tell the fault between you and the other person alone. If your brother or sister listens, you've won over your brother or sister. If they don't listen, well, take 2 or 3 others along with you. If they refuse to listen, tell the whole church. But if in the end they still don't listen, treat them as you would a Gentile or a tax collector. Now, Gentiles and tax collectors were those outside the Christian community, but still in need of special care and concern. Notice it doesn't say, draw the line and that's it. It doesn't say get rid of them. It says the goal is to bring them back. Not get rid of them, but bring them back. That's the goal. I remember when they were talking here about winning over your brother or sister in your conversation, it doesn't mean that we have to gain control or insisting that we are entirely correct and the other person is all wrong. It means the goal is to repair and fix and repair relationships. The idea is to fix that relationship. And if we just keep that in mind, then we're free to forgive each other. We're free to move on from there and encourage one another. But first we have to remember the goal, and that's to fix that relationship. In just a few more verses of the same gospel, Jesus tells the disciples how often, and there's no limit on how many times, they have to forgive and be reconciled. There's no limit to the number of times. As long as the other person is promising to make some kind of change, then we're called to forgive and start over again. There's no limit. And this seems to be a lesson that all of us have to learn over and over and over again. Never seems to end. I was talking with a 90-year-old woman, and she said, well, I haven't spoken to my daughter in 10 years. And the daughter lived nearby. It seems, though, that about 10 years ago, there was some kind of a family dispute, and everybody was expected to take sides. And with that, relationships ended. For some reason, that family chose to do the exact opposite of what Jesus is telling us to do. And even if they get things back together again, they've still lost 10 years with a 90-year-old woman. Now, Jesus must have also known that sometimes it's a little hard to figure out exactly what to do. What's the best way to bring things back together again? I was talking to an older gentleman, and he was telling me that his adult son and the son's friend wanted to move into his house. Well, the problem was that the son and his friend and all the other friends were addicted to drugs and alcohol. Well, you can imagine the problems that followed in that household. Not only did this bring all kinds of problems, they were stealing from the man. He even in the end feared for his own safety. He said, what choice did I have? I had to tell my son and his friend to leave here. They couldn't live here anymore. And sometimes it's hard for all of us to figure out what to do, isn't it, huh? Maybe we've experienced that. What Jesus does do is give us some guidelines. Give us some basic guidelines today, and then the rest of it we have to figure out ourselves. And basically, he's saying this, that the goal is to fix and repair that relationship. He says to him, look it, you follow me, my teachings, and nobody else. You follow what I have to say about that. Tells us to follow God's agenda and not somebody else's. That's where the trouble comes. A few weeks ago, I was preparing to attend a vigil, prayer vigil, for a man who had been shot to death on a city street. And when I got to the scene to kind of check things out and get ready, it was a strange feeling. I said, wait a minute. I've been here before. And then I remembered that I had been at that same site for the same reason just 1 year ago. Now that's a pretty violent example of following somebody besides Christ. It's a violent example of following some other agenda. maybe the agenda of greed, might be the agenda of revenge, but it sure isn't Christ's example. Now, since everybody is paying such close attention, and all our students are all geared up and just can't wait to get back to school, let's finish with a question. Everybody ready? Brother Neil, are you ready? You think you can handle it? Yes. Okay, let's just see, all right? Question is this. Have you ever seen a one-person fight? Have you ever seen a one-person fight? Takes two people, doesn't it? It takes two people, and we don't have to be the other person. We don't choose to be. If we choose, we can be the exception and not add fuel to the fire. Disagreements, disputes are going to happen. That's part of life. It's our own reaction that can make the difference. But it's something we've got to choose, how we react. Now, all this could be seen as a sign of weakness. But not insisting on our own way all the time, on every occasion, is not defeat. Christ was not defeated, and he's our teacher. So as we continue now to prepare to share in the body and the blood of Christ, let's ask our God for the special help that we need, the special help that we need to choose this week, to be people who bring the peace of Christ to everyone we meet.